So everybody, Trophy, this is Texas. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to create another series, a new series of what ifs and scenarios involving people's biggest concerns. Now, I don't have all the answers. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I've done a few things to kind of think about what's going on, right? And I believe that with all of us thinking together, and even if you don't respond or leave an answer, but if you have those answers on paper for yourself, yeah, that provides some kind of service to you. So, where I'm currently at in the state of Texas, it's pretty dry and more or less a desert, right? And that's not the only place in the United States that's like that. So, I feel that since water has become a huge thing, droughts are becoming more prevalent in the U.S. I feel that not having a lot of water on hand and not having a lot of rain or a lot of this or that, I feel that this is a pretty relevant thing to keep in the back of your mind while I'm asking this question, because a lot of people live in the desert, a lot of people work in the desert. Some people are there because Minnesota gets too cold, so they go to New Mexico, some parts of Texas, or Arizona. Some people go to Southern Cali because they're snowbirds. It's warm. Okay, well, people are constantly moving around. You may find yourself in this situation. It may apply to you. You may never see a desert in your life. But I believe because I have the most experience in this, grown up in one most pretty much my entire life, I feel that I can speak a little bit about this because I have some experience, right? Assuming you are in a place that this may or may not help you, right? So regardless of where you are, this may come into play down the road to help you. If nothing else, it's food for thought. So now that I've explained that, let's get into it. All right. So the misconception is if I have it, or I have money for it, or I bought it, I'm square. That's not always the case. So initially, you need to ask yourself this question: how prepared are you? Or in this case, how prepared am I? So you work 15 miles from your hometown. Pretty good radius. You hear a loud, thunderous boom in the sky. Usually, when there's a loud boom, people tend to stop and try to figure out what the hell it was. So you're working, you're doing your job, you're in the petroleum industry, you hear a loud boom. The sky brightens, even though the sun's already out, the sky does get a little bit brighter, and that boom is echoing past you. It's not a boom you've heard before. So now everybody's super curious. Everybody immediately steps outside to figure out what's going on because inside the shop that you're working in, all the lights have turned off. Or the office you're sitting in, your computer goes black. So the first instinct is, well, someone must have hit a power pole. We lost all power. Let me just pull out my cell phone and check and see. Oh, I pulled out my phone and it's black. It's not turning on either. Weird. Well, what would cause all the power to go out and what would cause my phone not to work? Well, somebody's got to know something, so let's go outside and ask. If everybody goes outside, you start meeting up with other people down your road. People shouting at each other, asking, "Do you have power?" "No, I don't have power." "Does your phone work?" Everybody's communicating, trying to gather some information, and comes to find out that somebody panics. They they don't like what's going on. They go to get in their car. Man, I'm getting out of here. I don't know what's going on. This is weird. Puts the key in the ignition, turns the key, and his brand new Dodge does not start. Everybody else that has newer model vehicles, they can't get their vehicles to start either. Now you're stuck. Your computers are useless. Your phone doesn't work. Nobody really has landlines out here. You're 15 miles from home, and you don't have any vehicles to get you there. Kind of a rough situation to start out, right? This is the initial impact. All of this within the first few minutes of this thing going off. right? Maybe 10 minutes has passed, and everybody's now genuinely starting to grow past concern and into almost a full blown panic. When people are scared, they don't generally think very well. They don't think things through. So it's pretty obvious what's happened. The uh, the dice of chance has rolled in the favor of an EMP strike. Who dropped it doesn't really matter. Where did it hit? You're still alive. So again, doesn't really matter. All you need to know is that for all intents and purposes, the technology we have is no longer available to you. Anything that runs off of electricity is now gone. Well, this is a pretty tough situation. Do you stay at work or your shop or out of town or whatever? Do you stay there or do you leave? Generally speaking, most people are going to say, I need to go home because that's where all my stuff is. I need to go home. So that's probably going to be the biggest option, right? So you decide, okay, I'm not staying here. There's nothing here for me. I hate these guys anyways. I'm leaving. So what do? Do you leave in the middle of the day, roughly 3 o'clock p.m., in the middle of the week, and let's say it happens next Tuesday, whatever that is. And yeah, you want to leave, but you have no vehicle to get there. There are no bicycles around. There's no other type of transportation you could take that you could physically power. It's literally just you. So let's say you decide I'm going to walk home. 3 p.m. Most generally speaking, people usually walk about 3 miles an hour. Comfortably 3 miles an hour. So if you walk 3 miles an hour, you divide 15 miles by your 3 miles an hour, you get, 5 hours. We'll say 5 hours just for the sake of conversation. You got to stop. Maybe you got to use the bathroom. Who knows? You run into a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of trouble down the road because if there's an EMP that goes off, if an EMP does go off, generally speaking, people are stuck where they are. If you're driving a car or a truck and the EMP strike happens, your vehicle, you no longer have control of it. I'm sure you're planting both feet on this thing to stop so that you're not wrecking into the guy in front of you. There are no lights at the intersections, assuming your car still runs, even though everything is shut off. So there's going to be tons of wreckage, and it's going to be a bad scene. Well, in the desert, it's hot and it's dry. You decide to walk home in the middle of the afternoon, 3 p.m. You're going to take your chances. It's going to take you roughly 5 hours to get there by walking at a decent pace. You're not running, you're not jogging, you're not sprinting. You're walking. First question, because you need to make it home and there's no point in sticking around, the temperature is already close to 100, 102 degrees. You've already received your heat warning. And question number one, how do you plan to make it home without a vehicle? Well, we've discussed that. Bicycles, maybe these things that other modes of transportation may have around. Maybe if you're lucky, you have an old man or older gentleman that works there. He drives his his 79 pickup. His 79 GMC is still parked in the back. On top of that giant oil slick that it's been dripping. That's not oil, man. It's just sweat from all that horsepower, right? So maybe you do have access to a vehicle. But for the sake of this conversation, let's say that you don't. How do you plan on getting there? The most obvious and probably the most answered, or I would say the most probable answer would be foot power. You're going to walk. So you've now become a bipedal system. You're walking over there. What do you carry on your person daily? Because if there's mass panic and people start freaking out, maybe you freak out because you've never been in this situation before. Who's to say how you react? And we can what if this to death, which is kind of what we're doing, but we're trying to keep it simple at the same time. What if you are just in a hurry and you have to get out for whatever reason? Maybe the job site you're on is no longer safe, or somebody does something not very cool at your job. You have to get out of there. What do you carry on your person daily? And how would that benefit you to get home? Once you gather the stuff from your vehicle and you're in a hurry to just make a mad dash to the house, what route are you going to take? And once you pick a route, let's say you're going to go down the main highway, it's a beeline, it's a straight shot back into town. How many vehicles are stranded there? What kind of people are stranded there? How many people are stranded there? Are there any injuries? There's going to be a lot of what ifs and a lot of gray area when you get out that direction. So, what route do you have? What would be the temperament of those people on that route? I'm sure it's going to be confusion and anger and all these other big swirl of emotions. How well will you be able to navigate these people or this terrain in this situation? Do you have any family that you need to contact? Do you have a wife or a girlfriend? Do you have a brother or sister or a niece or, God forbid, some children that depend on you or that rely on you in some capacity? How are you going to get a hold of them? Let's say because the temperature is hot and it's middle of summer, it's above 103 degrees, probably have a big blocked road, or let's say things are just kind of sketchy, right? What would be the benefit of leaving during the day compared to leaving at night? Which one would benefit you more? If the answers you're giving for these previous questions are starting to stack up in a not good way, if it turns out to be more dangerous this way, would there be a benefit to waiting to leave at night? And if so, how much more of a benefit would that be? Let's say some of the people you work with, you actually do get along with, maybe your buddies. You got a couple buddies you work with. Are there any people that can travel that route with you? And maybe you can negotiate, hey, you live closer than I do. We can hit your place first and then work our way to mine, or leave you there and I'll just continue on. Is that a possibility? Or is it going to be every man for himself? Are there strength in numbers, or do the numbers become a liability because you move slower? And let's just say, for the sake of this conversation and to shorten this video a little, let's say you've already made it home. Yeah, at your house, you're comfortable there, you have all your stuff there, probably are surrounded by some people you might like, I guess. Maybe your neighbors are cool, maybe they're not. What do you plan on doing? If they're on one side, being good neighbors and you've got a little community, versus guys that you wouldn't trust to, I don't know, guys you wouldn't trust as far as you could throw. Calling back to one of the previous questions, who else lives with you? And if you do have people living with you, whether it be a spouse, children, whatever, did you pick them up before you got there? Or was your plan to get home, gather the supplies and things you needed, and then go out and get them? Who lives with you? And do you need to go get them? This is the question. What is your plan here? If you make it home solo and there are other people who depend on you, and they are not there yet, what do you do? Let's say you're alone. You don't have a family. You don't have a wife and kids or a brother or sister. You don't have anyone to depend on you. Let's say you are indeed the lone wolf, right? You are the single guy. Is it safe for you to be alone in your neighborhood, or alone in your apartment or your house or your whatever, your dwelling in your neighborhood? Is it safe enough to stay there after all the lights have gone out? If it is not, what do you plan on doing? If it does turn out that your place is a cool place, what do you plan on doing? Now, here's a bonus question, and nobody's going to like talking about this, but here's a bonus question. What if the place that you are staying, you decide you're going to hunker down? You're going to board up some doors, you're going to block some windows, you're going to do what you have to stay in place, because you've got some things there that you can't just pick up and run away with, because let's say you've piled up some precious metals, you piled up some tools, you piled up some other supplies like stress relievers or whatever. Pick a thing, and this is your house. Damn it, you paid for it. You're gonna stay here. What do you do when your community decides, we're not cool with that idea? We've all decided that you're kind of a pain in the ass, and we're gonna get you out of here. Ever wonder why you have a community meeting but you're not invited to it? What are the odds that you're that guy? May or may not be true. I don't know. But let's say you're pushed out by either your community members, or let's say 3 weeks down the road, you've got roving groups of people who are deciding they're going to take what you have, and if they can't have it, you can't have it, and they're going to burn your house down. What do you plan on doing? Well, do you have a backup plan for if you have to leave? And if so, what are you leaving behind? What can you take with you? And what would be most important to take? So this is just prioritizing these things. That one question is about 50 questions bundled into one. So I don't expect people to be specific. Only be as specific as you need to be for your plans. Because again, this is only food for thought. Maybe it will happen. Hopefully it doesn't. But if so, how prepared are you? Because we all know that fortune favors the prepared. Look forward to seeing some comments and maybe a couple answers down below. If you guys are part of a community, you have a type of, let's say you have a type of SHTF group or mutual assistant groups, or let's say you're part of a survival network or whatever. Pick a name, right? Let's just say that you are already involved with very like-minded individuals in your neighborhood or maybe scattered about. If you've already discussed this with these people, these questions in this video may be very easy for you to answer. But if you are asleep, or I wouldn't say that, okay. If you've never been given reason to give it much thought, then this may seem like it's completely out of left field. But I think thought exercises are pretty important. But I'm really looking forward to some response videos. If you guys like, you can do a short form, long form response, comments down below, whatever. I will do a follow-up video answering some of these questions. Not very specifically, because I don't exactly want everybody to know what I plan on doing, but it will be a general overview.